Today we're going to talk about how simple shifts in your core beliefs can be way more effective than any specific hack or app or system or even planner. If you are a chronically overwhelmed woman with ADHD, you might feel like you have tried everything and nothing works. Today, I'm going to share 7 beliefs that helped me get out of a really gnarly case of ADHD burnout and completely changed the way that I see myself and how I designed my life to work with my brain so that I can build a life I love. And I want the same for you. And shift number 7 is maybe the hardest to hear, but the most important, so make sure you stick around to the end. If you're new here, I'm Tiff, a neuroscience professor with a PhD and ADHD and a mom of 2. And I am on a mission to help women with ADHD go from constantly overwhelmed and in survival mode to energetic, empowered, and truly thriving so that you can build a life you love that works in harmony with your ADHD brain. That's what we do here on this channel, and we dive even deeper with the amazing women in the ADHD Success Lab. All right, mindset shift number 1, you aren't broken and you don't need fixing. If you are living in the self-improvement spiral, I see you, I've been you. Many ADHD women are you. You are definitely not alone here. The endless cycle of fixing one flaw only to then dig deep so you can find the next thing wrong with yourself that needs fixing. Here's the truth. The absence of flaws is not the same as happiness. And in fact, chasing flawlessness often makes you feel worse. And it's also impossible to get there. As a person with many flaws, I am here to reassure you that you can build a life that you love without fixing any of your flaws. So it's time to stop fixing, but start building. And you're probably at this point saying, but Tiff, my executive function is such a mess. I have to fix that before I can be happy. To that I will say, mindset shift number 2 is that executive function is overrated. The truth is, ADHD brains are wired differently than neurotypical brains. The energy it takes trying to shoehorn your brain into executive function strategies that go against the way it's wired is not only super energetically draining, but also doomed to eventually fail. And listen, I get it. Forgetting to change over the laundry, having to run back into the house 4 times, letting people down when you forget something important, those all suck. The goal is not actually perfect executive function. The goal is good enough systems so that you can put your energy elsewhere, where it matters, where it's actually useful. Leaning into your talents and putting your energy into bringing more things that bring you joy and peace and happiness into your life. Spending your energy on what actually matters, what lights you up. I continue to be mostly an executive function disaster who has made my life work well enough so that I can focus on the things that actually are exciting to my brain, that I'm actually good at and that I feel like I have to offer the world. A lot of times the things that are stopping us are this belief that we should do things a certain way. And that brings us to number 3, which is that most rules are just made up. Ladies, I am not kidding. They are made up by somebody that thought this is the best way because it worked best for me. And we internalize that as if it doesn't work for me, something must be wrong with me. So we get stuck thinking we should be solving this problem a certain way, or we should just be able to do it because it works for other people. So a lot of times doing it differently will give you the same result, but actually work better with your brain, saving you energy, allowing you to succeed, avoiding shame. So many wins here. Once you start to think in terms of how could I help my brain succeed at this, rather than I should just be able to do it, you will realize that you can solve almost any problem. And that, ladies, that is empowering. But this only works if you internalize this next mindset shift. Number 4, there is no failure, there is only learning. This one is huge, especially if you are a perfectionist or a high achiever. The thing I realized is that literally everything I've ever learned in my entire life has been learned through failure. You see, we all think about things as binary. I'm going to do this thing and I'm either going to succeed or I'm going to fail. When things don't go the way that you want, that is your opportunity to figure out what got in my way and how could I get around it. I truly believe that there is something to be learned from every single attempt, whether it turned out the way that you wanted or the way that you didn't. Now that doesn't mean it is not frustrating or annoying or devastating sometimes when things don't turn out the way that you want. And I don't want to minimize the emotion, but we can take that experience and ask ourselves, what can I learn? How do I proceed from here? That puts the power back in your hands and allows you to take something away from a crappy situation. It also ditches the shame. Win, win, win again, okay? Now, if you have ADHD, it's likely that big emotions are a big part of your life, and you're probably sitting there thinking, but Tiff, when I fail or when things don't go my way, I feel really, really crappy. And you are not alone. And that brings us to mindset shift number 5. Those big emotions are real. They're not within our control, but they're not always true. ADHD emotions can be intense. We neurologically experience emotions more intensely, and emotional rejection pain and physical pain are processed in some of the same areas of the brain. So your big emotions are 1, valid, 2, bigger than the average neurotypical person's might be. So there's a real neurobiological basis for these big emotions. The problem comes when we let those big emotions drive the bus and make our decisions, because often those emotions are either untrue or unhelpful or maybe out of proportion to the situation. For example, I have dealt with almost crippling cases of imposter syndrome throughout my scientific journey, and I'm dealing with those feelings again as I start this channel. But what I have learned is that I can acknowledge that those feelings exist, but know that I'm still allowed to keep moving toward my goal. Again, this puts you back in the driver's seat because you can't actually stop those emotions. They are automatic. And so trying not to feel them is a losing battle. One other thing that has helped me a lot with this is knowing ahead of time what emotions I am likely to feel so that they don't knock me flat when they happen. By expecting those big emotions, you can kind of greet it when it shows up, acknowledge its existence, and then continue on the path that you already planned to take when it showed up. This is a really simple but powerful thing you can do, especially if you're going to make a change or try something new that might be scary. And those scary feelings that we feel when we're about to make a change brings me to number 6. Discomfort equals growth. When you feel discomfort setting a boundary or trying something new, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong or that you shouldn't be doing it. It means you're doing it right. Your brain was evolutionarily designed to keep you safe and alive and comfortable. New things are unknown. So your brain will try to protect you from danger by preventing you from doing new things where the outcome's not certain. That means even your very certain future where you might be miserable and know you want it to change feels safer to your brain than it does to make the change that in the end you know on the inside would make you way happier and be way better for you. In other words, these feelings of discomfort that we feel when we're in the change are just your brain's misguided attempts to protect you and keep you safe. So now when I feel uncomfortable, I ask myself, is this the good kind of discomfort? And if it is, I keep going. And none of this works without this 7th mindset shift, which is that I am the only person with the power to change my own life. And the same is true for you. This one hit hard because I was so exhausted and I felt so stuck, and I just wanted someone to come carry me to a better place where the future didn't look the same as that horrible, miserable, exhausting day that I was reliving day after day after day. Once I thought to myself, would I be okay being in this same spot in a few months from now or a year or 2 years from now? And I realized absolutely not. I was like, I'm going to have to figure out how to change something and just make some kind of progress. And listen, I'm not saying this means it's easy, because truth time, this is not easy, but it's worth it and it's possible. ADHD brains genuinely struggle with time management and decision making and memory and emotions. But I realized if I don't change something about the way I'm operating, nothing's going to change. If you don't change something about the way you're operating and you're not happy with where you are, nothing's going to change. I had to start saying no. I had to make space for my needs and my values. And like I said, I had to get help. I got therapy, I got coaching, I got my family involved. And honestly, now I feel really good, and I'm really proud that I dug myself out. And I want other ADHD women who are in that same situation right now to feel the exact same way in the future. Now, I want you to take a second and imagine what it would feel like to believe these things about yourself on a daily basis. If these were the beliefs you were acting from, how would your life be different already? How would that change the trajectory that you're currently on? And hopefully you'd stop feeling broken if you do, because you're not. And if you want more specific information about how I took charge of my schedule as a woman with ADHD, watch this video next. You got this.